Hello, dear friends. Listen to the reed flute, how it complains, lamenting its exile from home, since I was torn from my wicker house. The soul is the flute that was torn from the heavenly reed bed, and now weeps its separation from the divine world, said Rumi. Opinion piece. Alchemist suites. Angelic state. Detoxification. The lament of the Ka. Exaltation of the soul. From the gross to the subtle. From the human to the divine. Let's start. According to Hermetic tradition, the alchemist experiences cellular renewal initiated through detoxification, an elimination of toxins that manifests itself through heavy sweating. The body seems to be de-densified, producing greater spirituality. This state lasts a lunar cycle of 2 weeks to a month with heavy sweating. If this process works correctly, the alchemist has become subtler or de-densified. He has exalted his soul to an angelic state, according to Luis Silva. Sweat would be symbols of calcinatio and solutio, 2 stages of the alchemical process that involve the destruction of the impure and the dissolution of the fixed. The body that de-densifies becomes more subtle, less attached to dense matter. This is interpreted as an access to higher state of consciousness, where spirituality predominates over material passions. This phase is often called sublimatio in alchemy and marks the soul's ascent beyond its physical limits. The desinfication involves the transition from the gross to the subtle. This is parallel to the transition from lead to gold, or in a more mystical sense, from the human to the divine. It involves making the body more spiritual, that is, more receptive to subtle and higher realities. The 2 weeks to a month can refer to a full lunar cycle, which in many traditions is symbol of transformation, death, and rebirth. The exaltation of the soul reflects to the ultimate goal of the alchemical process, the union of the human being with its highest or angelic part, that is, the attainment of higher consciousness and the sense of unity with the divine. It is a powerful metaphor for inner transformation, where the alchemist, through suffering and purification, achieves elevation of his or her being and spiritualization. This experience is, above all, a map for evolution of the human being toward higher states of consciousness. This process leads the alchemist to an angelic state. In the Hermetic tradition, this state is reached when the soul has passed through all the trials of the elements and has been purified enough to unite with its divine part, the spirit or nous. The lament of Ka. The lament of Ka is the lament of the soul for separation from God, and it expressed in Sufi poetry and music through the image of the melancholic flute called Ney. This flute, made of reed, symbolizes the soul crying out and weeping for having been torn from its divine origin, its heavenly home, a metaphor that appears in the poems of Rumi, the great Sufi mystic poet. In particular, Rumi describes this lament in one of his poems, where the flute narrates its pain, since it was cut from the reed bed. It is separated and alone, and its sadness brings tears to those who hear it. This lament represents the soul's suffering at being separated from God, its source and true essence. The poem speaks of the profound longing and longing for union with the divine, the all, which in Sufi doctrine is the reason for human and spiritual suffering. Listen to the reed flute, how it moans, lamenting its banishment from home, since I was torn from my wicker house. The soul is the flute that was torn from the heavenly reed bed, and now mourns its separation from the divine will. Rumi uses this metaphor to illustrate the human experience of estrangement and the desire to return to unity with God, fundamental to Sufi mysticism. The melancholic flute, without tongue or words, expresses spiritual pain through its wailing sound. Therefore, the soul's lament is expressed by the Sufi flute as a symbol of the soul's separation from God and its longing for union. In quotes, listen to the neigh, how it laments. It tells the story of separation. Since I was cut from the sugarcane field, my lament has made men and women weep. In Sufi poetry and music, especially in the work of Rumi, the neigh represents the human soul that has been separated from its divine source and expresses its pain through constant lament. Here, the neigh not only symbolizes the individual soul, but also the spiritual longing to return to the beloved. Rumi says that the sound of the neigh is the echo of our deepest desire, the return to the home from which we were torn. The flute sings not with its voice, but with the breath of the lover. Poem, in quotes. Hear me, wandering soul. I was a reed in the river of origin, green hole, rocked by the winds, on the formless garden. But one day the hand of fate severed me with a fiery edge. It emptied me, pierced me, made me hollow, so that I could shine. And since then I moan. My voice is not my own, its absence. It's the echo of the beloved, who still lives in me. You who weep when you hear my song know what I am talking about. You too were torn away. You too remember. Come, broken soul, let us be wind and flute, pain and melody, until we mesh again in silence. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.